Good morning, everyone. It's March 1st, and we're marching through 2021 like a conquering, heroic revolutionary army. Um, Soon, the capitalists will taste the leather of our underboots and be ground into dust. Um, Hi, I'm Timmy, and I am going to be reading the news roundup today. This is kind of becoming a nice part of my morning routine because I normally wake up and I sit in bed for like an hour looking at the news and then never I just kind of now if I take notes I get way more into it and it's a lot more fun, and then I can come here and I can read the news and there it can hopefully encourage people to check out the Mutual Aid and Solidarity Union and to consider starting their own sort of mutual aid and solidarity organizations wherever they are. So hopefully this is helpful as well and gives you a nice overview of the day's information in a way that's not too much of a either a typical political gossip type YouTube stream or a neoliberal type newscast. So, the Mutual Aid and Solidarity Union was hard at work on Saturday going out to Dorchester Park. I just heard today that we fed about 100 people, fed or provided clothes to about 100 people. And every week they've been continually getting food and winter supplies together to go take out to the homeless folks out at the park. And then if they don't, if there's not enough people there, they go to other camps around the rest of the city. So it's really great work. If you would like to get involved, go stop by the kind of donation drop-off on Thursday from 5 to 7 at America the Beautiful Park in Colorado Springs, or if you would prefer to just go to the distribution, it's on Saturday at Dorchester Park. We also have a book club every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Colorado time. We're currently reading James Scott's Seeing Like a State. We got permission from the union to live stream the book club, but then I was thinking about it, and I don't know if people will still feel as comfortable reading out loud in the book club if they feel like it's going to go on YouTube and be critiqued. So, but we might do an overview of what we got out of Seeing Like a State because it was a very good book. It's by an anarchist political scientist named James Scott. Next, we're either going to be reading a book called Desert or a book called, something by Rosa Luxemburg. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to read by her yet. But yeah, our regularly scheduled General Assembly meeting, is on Saturday at 7 p.m. if you'd like to join. The General Assembly's sort of democratic gathering. We have one at the end and beginning of the month. It is where we kind of provide overviews of projects. If you have an idea of something you want to start and you just feel like you want to get buy-in from everyone else, you can bring it up and have it put on the ballot and we'll vote on it. The ballot goes out through Google Forms. It's anonymous unless we specifically decide that we're going to ask for email addresses for a volunteering thing. So yeah, definitely come out. The meetings can sometimes go on for a while, so feel free to drop in and out. If you have any questions about it, just email csmutualaidunion@gmail.com. And we usually post a link in the Discord the day of, and we'll try to post it on Facebook. As the meetings have gotten more regularly scheduled and internal, we tend to post a little bit less about them online in advance. Now I need to get to the rest of the news because that was my first 3 sentences and it took me 4 minutes. And I have 20 minutes until class. So, all right, let's get at it. So the Colorado State House is debating 3 bills, including the Safe Storage of Firearms Act, a bill concerning the extortion of immigrants engaged in lawful acts, and a bill that involves the sentencing procedures for juveniles who are transferred into adult courts. The juvenile bill, I just kind of copied and pasted the description of it from Colorado Legislation Trackers, which is a great website that I highly recommend checking out. It's run by former State House candidate Meg Fossinger. who's a very nice person. It says the juvenile bill. The bill adds language to the juvenile transfer statute to mirror the language currently found in the juvenile direct file statutes. So a juvenile transfer to adult court is subject to the same sentencing provisions as a juvenile who is in adult court based on a direct file. So I don't completely understand what this bill is doing, but it seems to be in effect like changing the way that youth who are going through the court process are treated if they're transferred into the adult courts. The Safe Storage of Firearms Act requires firearms to be kept locked and where youth cannot access them. I know that sounds like that's the kind of thing that it like falls under that common sense gun reform banner. At the same time, I wonder like how it will be enforced in practice, because it seems like that will only be enforced when there's already been something bad that has happened, or there's already a crime that the police, for instance, are investigating. And a lot of the times, these firearms crimes are tagged on to offenses as a way of like getting a for sure charge or a for sure felony charge, which then strips someone of their gun rights and strips them their voting rights, puts them in this kind of legal state of exception that I don't think is productive. I think that a lot of the time the criminal justice system itself just reinforces people's alienation and deepens the societal problems that we have. So I think it's a good idea to have your guns locked up. I also think that there's certain instances where maybe someone has a firearm around the house if they have like a home invasion, and like it's not always practical to have to like sort through your gun safe to like get the right gun or like unlock your gun. Like you don't always have time to do that necessarily. And a lot of issues with juveniles and firearms, I think education is a very important thing that is highly underrated in the firearms debate. Like teaching gun safety from a young age, I think would be an ideal thing. At the same time, like it's hard to disagree with like just the premise of like, yeah, you shouldn't be able to just like walk into your house and grab all your guns, and like your gun should be kept locked up. If you have company over, or like most situations, just keep it. But yeah, there's also a bill. Oh, and then a bill. There's another bill that I really like actually that makes it a crime to threaten an immigrant engaged in a lawful act by like threatening to report their immigration status. So it makes that a crime of extortion, which I think is great. I like that one a lot. I mean, again, I kind of am like on criminal justice in general and like passing laws, but as far as like laws go, I think that's a good one. Because I think it's possible to have good laws. It's like anarchist heresy to say that, but it's possible to have like laws that are like at least not gonna fuck shit up more, or that at least will like make people's lives better. Right now, also before the Senate, there's two bills. Both the bills, and this is the Colorado Senate. So there's one bill that will make it so that an educator who has sexual contact with an 18-year-old student in K through 12 commits a crime if they are 4 years or older than the student. So that would mean basically like right now, if a student is 18 and they're in K through 12 and the educator like has a sexual interaction with them, it's considered legal. But this would make it a crime of exploitation. Moving towards like national news, we have been following the COVID-19 relief bill. Sanders and Wyden's corporate tax penalty has been abandoned, and the $15 an hour wage looks like it will be left out of the final bill based on what the Democrats are saying. They're not going to be pursuing that as part of this bill. They will be pursuing it as part of another package of legislation. I have seen some progressives online saying that this is going to cost them in the midterms. I would say it's like it might be too soon to say that for sure, because I think even some moderates were a little bit uncertain about putting it in the COVID-19 bill. At the same time, like it should be, but it's like a bare minimum type thing. Like as AOC has said, it's a compromise to have it down at 15. And as I've said, the minimum wage is itself kind of a reformist objective. Like, we want to get rid of this dependence on wage labor altogether. So, yeah. Here, but the House progressives have written to Vice President Harris in order to urge her to keep the minimum wage increase in the bill and to overrule the parliamentarian. It does not look like that's going to happen just based on what the rest of the Senate wants. So that's kind of, I mean, it's disappointing, and people could really use the wage increase. There's an infrastructure package in the works right now that's going to include spending on transportation, water, and broadband and electrical vehicle charging stations. That's kind of the next big item on the Biden-Harris agenda. It will likely have several $1 trillion of spending based on previous infrastructure packages that have made it through the House, but not the Senate. Macroeconomically, though, spending on infrastructure generally pays for itself in the long term. And the reason for that is that infrastructure enables the production. It's like a factor of production. So, like, infrastructure includes not just like roads, but ports. It includes power. It includes water. Here in Texas, we need spending on infrastructure badly. That's going to be something that will improve people's daily material realities. One thing to keep in mind with any of these large-scale infrastructure projects, though, that has borne out all around the world whenever a large-scale infrastructure project is proposed, is that the top-down sort of methods of trying to impose infrastructure do not work, and there needs to be collaboration on the local level, and there needs to be empowerment of the local people on the local level in order for them to be truly effective. And it's going to be, for one way for them to try to do that, to try to compensate for the jobs that have been lost with that will be lost with fossil fuels as we transfer over to green power. That's important because they're working class people that depend on this industry, which granted is destroying our planet, but they're still people, and so they still deserve, they deserve food, shelter, healthcare, all the things that every human deserves. And so it's important to make sure that they're taken care of, which is one thing that I thought was a mistake when they canceled the Keystone Pipeline. Although I do support moving rapidly away from fossil fuels. I hope that this infrastructure package includes a lot of spending on green infrastructure. I know that I oppose just entrenchment of state power, which is one thing that I think is a risk, but I also I support taking action, which I believe would work most effectively if it incorporates grassroots voices. Now, moving forward, I feel like I'm getting a little bit rambly, so I'll just try to make it through this fast. The Secretary of Homeland Security, Mayorkas, I was just watching his press conference. He's pledging to reunite families either in their country of origin or in the United States, and trying to rebuild asylum and humanitarian programs that he says that the Trump administration has gutted. He denounced what he inherited from the Trump administration. The Carrizo Springs and Homestead, Florida facilities are being defended by the Biden administration as temporary COVID safety measures in this process of trying to reunite families. ICE is ending long-term family detention, they say. There were still aggressive anti-ICE demonstrations in Portland because, as many people will point out, just having the ICE is in itself a bad agency, so and does need to be abolished. So Trump's speech at CPAC tries to suggest that essentially Joe Biden never talked about doing the things that he has done so far, very upset about the new administration's decision to not continue putting up a wall. He wants every GOP senator and representative to fear him, was sort of the message I got from the speech. Continues to deny that he lost the election, suggests that he may win a third time in 2024, and insists he won't start a new party. But at the same time, put it in perspective, he's like giving a speech at a conference room in Florida to a bunch of his cult worshippers. And as Karl Rove was pointing out, like on Fox News yesterday, I know I was watching Fox News and watching Karl Rove, he was pointing out like the Republicans don't seem to realize that like people did not like him, and like doubling down on his, like, they need to figure out like why they lost, which isn't something that they're coming to terms with at all. They're like doubling down. So whatever floats their boat, I guess. And speaking of floating boats, there was a mysterious explosion that hit an Israeli cargo ship in the Gulf of Oman on Thursday. This information about this was just released. It caused the ship to seek refuge in Dubai. All crew members are okay. The maritime security firm Dryad Global speculated that it was caused by asymmetric activities by Iran, but Iran is denying responsibility. Former French President Nicolas Sarkozy was sentenced to jail for corruption. According to Al Jazeera, Sarkozy had offered to secure a job in Monaco for Judge Gilbert Azibert in return for confidential information about an inquiry into allegations that he had accepted illegal payments from L'Oreal heiress Liliane Bettencourt for his 2007 presidential campaign. So it looks like he's going to jail, and that's going to happen. 2 gay men were arrested in Mexico for kissing with children present, and this was at a public beach. The police arrested them because of threats to public decency. Well, a crowd of folks surrounded the officers to chant "I'm gay too" and to protest the arrest, and surrounded them, argued with the police about it, not about what they were doing not being illegal. And actually, discrimination against gay people in Mexico was formally banned in 2003, although it clearly still goes on. The 2 men were eventually released to cheers from the crowd, and this was filmed. It was a video I'm sure has gone viral in Mexico, and it's also reaching the international press. So that was an interesting story to see. Let's and I got one more story in the Discord for you that I'll highlight, and then I will get to posting this on the YouTube. On the YouTube. Let me find. I'm not even going to edit this. I'm just going to keep it in because I know that that's what I do. Okay, yeah. So here's I'm just going into the Discord news aggregation channel, and if you're in the Discord, you should participate in the news aggregation channel. Like anytime you see a news story that you find interesting, it doesn't have to be unique or like groundbreaking. It helps with the news roundup because it just helps. It just helps. There's only so much Googling I can do when I lay in bed in the morning. So this let me open this one. This is a story from Vice, which I think usually has some pretty good like ethnographic style, like on the ground reporting. I find their on the ground reporting on like stuff like drugs and counterculture pretty good usually. So schools are abandoning invasive proctoring software after student backlash. So there's a company called Proctorio, which has been cashing in on remote learning since the start of the pandemic, and schools are now abandoning the company's software. There is a let's see. Let's just scan through this. Yeah, so this one has been trying to sponsor, this company Proctorio has been trying to sponsor a bunch of conferences, trying to market themselves to teachers as a way to surveil their students while they take exams. And this and apparently it uses artificial intelligence to monitor abnormalities, monitoring test takers through their computer cameras and microphones, which seems like a huge invasion of privacy. And I can only imagine how much of an invasion, like what could happen if they're dealing with the data of students in K through 12 schools. And like that data is probably not entirely secure. So it looks like, and the point of this story, I guess, was that a lot of schools are choosing not to renew contracts. So that's going on. Also, and I can't believe I didn't mention this earlier, because this was a very serious news story that I didn't write down in my notes because I just had it on the Discord, and I was planning on looking over at the Discord. But the deadliest day of protests in Myanmar happened on Sunday and continued on Monday. 18 people were killed. The police opened fire onto the crowd in order to get them to disperse. Live rounds of ammunition firing over the heads of people. And generally these are peaceful protests. Although I think that, even trying to say, generally it's peaceful protests, like, they're going up against the fucking army. Like, if they're throwing bottles, like, you're going to return fire with live rounds of ammunition against them? It's ridiculous. There are solidarity protests going on right now in Hong Kong and elsewhere in the Asia Pacific region. China has taken an interesting position in this because they've been notably silent, but a lot of the protesters in Myanmar have been blaming China for supporting the coup. And initially, China had kind of been conciliatory, at least towards the government. China has, I think, a bit of a neo-colonial relationship with a lot of the countries in Southeast Asia, where they want to ensure order and stability because they're important in their supply chains, and so they'll work with whatever government is there, and they probably, I don't know that they really have taken a side. I haven't seen that they've taken a side. So that's all the news that I have for you today. I hope that you have a great time with whatever you are planning on doing with the rest of your day. And for me, myself, I will be going to class and talking about land reform in Mexico. So exciting to go do that. I hope you have a good day and time with whatever it is that you're planning. And without further ado, here is the Soviet national anthem.